I don't remember how it started.
Go to that.
Our back and forth. It always came back.
Dad!
You probably don't remember what you told me,
That was perfect.
but I heard every word.
Mississippi's trusted weather experts. This is Mississippi Live Weather at 10.
Welcome into Mississippi Live Weather at 10. I'm meteorologist Gabe Maynor, and for some of us, a rainy afternoon. For the majority of us, hot and dry all across the region. That's just a result of that warming trend, but also a result of that drier air that's being moved in. Several things that we're discussing here on Mississippi Live Weather at 10. So what we'll be walking through a specific here at the Room to Room Weather Center will be the hot temps for our weekend. Yes, it's going to be hot, and it's going to be, for the most part, on the drier side. Some of that rain-cooled relief will be in the forecast as well. We'll be walking through where those rain chances pop up. Speaking of, limited chances for rainfall. Re-emphasizing my point that it's not going to be a complete washout, but there are going to be some isolated downpours across parts of North Mississippi. And we're going to have the entire weekend outlook as well, from rain chances as well as the heat. I mean, you can see the two headlines basically encompassed in one. We'll be walking through every step of that weekend forecast coming up here on Mississippi Live Weather at 10. Looking at the first 12, we're going to stay dry overnight. So a lot of those rain chances that were kicking through the area earlier this evening, not doing so anymore. And those temperatures cooling off with some of those clear skies, 78 there by 11, 76 closer to that mid-morning hour. And whenever we're walking through those early morning, I hope people don't have to wake up at 5 a.m. But if you do, it's not going to be a bad forecast whatsoever, with temperatures around 73, 8 a.m., 79 with some of that patchy fog. And we're climbing to the upper 80s there by 11. Yes, we're warming up much quicker than what we had today. It's just a sign of that warming trend once again. Summer's not over. We're still about 38 days, I believe, until fall is officially here. So counting down, like I said, so just buckle up. Looking at that Mississippi Live Weather radar, I mean, you can see, no, this is not all rainfall. This is actually what we'd call clear air mode. So some of those beams are being thrown a little bit lower to the surface. And so you get some of those trees, you get those buildings, and you just get those tall structures and even a few bugs and birds mixed in there. But I want to cycle this back over the last hour so we can kind of see, actually, let's go further than that. What am I saying? It's not rained here in a while. Let's go back 3 hours. You can see that funnel cloud report. Now that's actually one of those things that we call a landspout tornado. It actually forms at the surface, but and then goes all the way aloft. It's one of those rising cumulus clouds basically on the ground working its way up. And so typically we don't see damage because these are so weak and short-lived, but there are circumstances, not today, but there are circumstances where they could be damaging. So that's why we emphasized that we went live earlier in the broadcast about 6:30 walking through that forecast. So fortunately, no damage to report so far, but definitely a lot of people had to take a second look there in the skies, as that definitely, I understand why it caught their attention. But that storm basically dissolved away by 8:30, 9 o'clock. And then what we're left with is that little bit of moderate rainfall from that same cell. That storm that was happening down there towards Noxubee and Winston County, that all dissolved away. That boundary got away from it, and then of course it weakened out. So basically we're dry across the region in summary. So we're not tracking any showers, we're not tracking any storms except for that moderate shower once again back there towards Chula and Yazoo City. So not bad of a forecast, right? We're not going to be going to sleep with rumbles of thunder. Those rainfall totals, where it rained, it was a decent downpour, especially at the heart of that storm there towards between Chula and Hollandale. We can see about 3.5 inches down south. I'm going to try and get that bullseye. I missed the bullseye. But 1.56 inches, so just over 1.5 inches there towards Noxubee and Winston County. Then we even got some decent amounts there towards Corinth and Alcorn County, 1.42 inches, riding along that 72-45 corridor. But again, nothing like what we saw back here in Alabama. As I move it over to Birmingham, you can see some of those decent outputs. And I want to emphasize one of these reports right here. This was actually, well, let me click it. And we might need the query tool. Hang on. Won't let me. Oh, I don't think you can on rainfall totals. Well, shoot. But that was actually some significant damage. We saw it on social media earlier, and it was just some of those winds picking up and those severe thunderstorms. They kind of carried those strong wind gusts, knocked down a few pieces of roofing, I believe is what it was. So definitely an intense storm out there, but also that flooding rainfall. There were some flood advisories in effect. So what we had yesterday and the day before, that's what took place in Birmingham. But now we're on to the drier days ahead, and that's unfortunate if you need rainfall, which is basically everyone here in North Mississippi, but it's also fortunate because I know we want to get outside this weekend. It's school year, so we get those limited days that we can actually take advantage of and get outside. Well, tomorrow and Sunday will be a couple of them. Aberdeen, 79 degrees right now, but still feels like 82. So that humidity still in the area. It's what's going to result in some of that patchy fog where that moisture lies because that humidity is still very high. Macon, same thing. Macon more than likely going to be starting the morning off with some fog. 79 degrees, feels like 82. Humidity still relatively high, and that's just a result of that shower that moved through earlier today. Not just around Macon, we're also looking out west towards Rolling Fork. 78 feels like 81, still with a relatively high humidity. So that's what it's going to be, hot and humid really for the next 48 hours. So just enjoy it and sweat it up, I guess is what I'll say. But really take frequent breaks and stay hydrated because we know that sweat needs to be replenished by drinking a lot of water. But looking at our Mississippi Live Weather Radar on a national perspective, what we're getting here is that high pressure center back to our south. That's circulating in some of that moisture that we talked about earlier into North Mississippi. You can see that arrow right there, clockwise motion bringing up some of that moisture. But then you get this cold front, and unfortunately it's not our typical cold front because cold front usually means cold air back behind it. Well, not the case. I'm going to strike it out. What we're getting on the back end of this is drier air, and that's going to be what we see for our forecast moving forward. Behind that frontal boundary will be drier air. That's why we're not overly high on those rain chances, but not only that, it's also going to dry out the air, not just the skies. And so it's going to feel a little bit less sticky over the next couple of days. So this feels like value is not going to be too much different than the temperatures. Only issue is the temperatures are actually climbing as a result. So we're going to feel similar to what we were at, but more with a drier feel as we head out the door, if that makes sense. Let's zoom back in here to the Mississippi and Alabama area so we can really see the interaction of this frontal boundary overnight. Again, this is about 3 a.m. on our Saturday. That carries over into the early morning hours. You can see that front slowly but surely moving south, and that'll bring with it some drier air on the back end of our forecast right there. So 6 a.m., still probably feeling sticky in the area, but as the day goes on, that stickiness will go away just a bit, and we'll take it because it is a pretty overwhelming forecast with how much moisture we're feeling just in the air itself. Hard to breathe altogether. So Saturday by noontime, patchy cloud cover, but there's where the drier air starts to kick in. Some of those winds already transitioning from the north, and that's cycling in some of that drier continental air. So Saturday afternoon, still on the drier side for the most part. And that's what we're talking about here coming up in just a bit is, where that moisture picks up. And I have adjusted rain chances just a bit, believing in the models a bit more because they have been relatively consistent on the last few runs. I'm not overly sold on their coverage. Trust me, if I was, then we'd be looking at increased rain chances. Not sold on it. Just because of that drier air and that northern wind component bring in some of that continental air, I just don't really see that producing a lot of storms in our forecast. Some, but not a lot. So we'll be walking through those chances here in just a moment. Mid to late afternoon is our best time frame to see those take place. But there's your story. 95 degrees heading into our afternoon forecast. It's going to be hot. It's actually going to be hotter than what it was today, but it might just feel a little bit better in the air. We'll walk through that here in the next 60 is just that temperature outlook, how much rainfall we're expected to see, and of course your weekend forecast in its entirety coming up on Mississippi Live Weather at 10 here in the next minute.
March 24th, 2023 was a normal Friday. We knew the weather was not good, but we needed to take shelter, and we didn't have shelter. My husband and almost 2-year-old daughter, Ethan and Riley, they did lose their lives in the storm. We're still recovering from it. We'll always be recovering from it. Matt Laupon cares about the community. He's not just there to collect a paycheck. I feel like Matt Laupon has proven himself trustworthy.
Whether it's our stories, the warmth of our laugh, or our family's secret sauce, we all bring something different to the table. So make some space. The power of connection is waiting right outside your comfort zone. Learn how you can help strengthen your community at belongingbeginswithus.org/teamup.
Right now, from the Mississippi Live Weather Center, here's meteorologist Gabe Maynor.
Well, where it rained, it poured, but it also spun just a little bit. I mean, what we're seeing there in the sky, where you have a what we'd call a cold air funnel, or actually a land spout that took place over there in Belzona. Mary Elizabeth submitting this photo. You can actually head to my Facebook page, meteorologist Gabe Maynor, and there's a full video of this funnel as it was just forming and hiding there up in the sky. But definitely, if you took a second glance up there, you definitely have seen it there in Belzona. But luckily, no damage associated with it, but just a spectacle you don't see too often. They can be damaging, just usually isn't the case, just because it's the weaker, less long-lived tornado, or one of our forms of tornadoes. So grateful that it didn't do any damage, but still a great sight to see just whenever you look up in the sky and you kind of just see it take place. One of the things about this is it's very hard to forecast for as well, because you don't see the rotation. It starts at the ground and then works its way up like a cumulus cloud, climbing there up in the sky. So if you're looking for it on radar for any of those wind modes, if we have any weather nerds out there, whenever you get those wind returns and you have that inflow-outflow interaction, you don't see it with a land spout. You actually, it's impossible to see in most cases just because it's forming at the ground, so usually not going to get those rotation returns, so it's harder to detect. You almost have to just see it in order for you to realize that it's taking place. So thank you to Mary Elizabeth for being one of our weather watchers out in the field and showing us what took place. Glad you and your family stayed safe. Now over there in Alabama, a whole different story. It was an active pattern, but with lots of heavy rainfall. Some of these, he called them fingers, death fingers in the sky. No, they're not death fingers. This is what we'd call scud cloud, and that's just basically some of the lowering of the cloud cover, not lowering for tornadic coverage, but just lowering, and it just looks like this broken cloud cover. It basically looks more menacing than what it actually is. So thankful for DP there in Pell City submitting this. That's actually not too far from my parents, and I know that they had a decent downpour. Actually, where my parents live over in St. Clair County, they were reporting some flooding issues, and there were flood advisories in effect, so it showed how heavy that rainfall was. And in some locations over there in Alabama, the irrigation is not exactly the best. So no surprise there that we're getting some flooding, but luckily everyone in the Maynor family is okay over there in Alabama. Patsy and Thaxton, this is back in Mississippi. A beautiful sunset taking place tonight with a lot of that dry air. So a big thank you to all of our weather watchers out in the field. Again, we thank you guys so much, and we could not do it without you. If you have any pictures, I know our meteorologist Caleb Edelblue loves a good weather watcher picture, so make sure to submit them tomorrow. Even if it's a sunny sky, there's a lot to take from it, and I know that he'll enjoy it. 79 degrees there in Crenshaw, feels like 82, so hot and muggy continues to be the story heading into our Friday night. I hope that everyone is enjoying their Friday night plans. I just hope they're staying hydrated in the process because of how hot it is outside. It does not take like 3 minutes outside before you start breaking a sweat, at least for me personally. 79 degrees, it feels like 82 in Amory, so no matter where you're at, whether you're in Crenshaw on the west side of our viewing area or Amory on the east side, it's hot all over, and 79 degrees feels like 82 towards Oxford. A very similar pattern all the way across. Let's see, is that the Highway 6 corridor almost? Walking from Crenshaw all the way to Amory. So no matter where you're at on Highway 6, it's going to be hot, it's going to be muggy, and really anywhere else in North Mississippi in its entirety. Mississippi Live Weather Radar showcases that moisture down there towards Chula and Hollandale, in between those two cities. It's on the drier side, and we expect that to continue to be the case. Those chances diminishing, and what we're left with is radar and clear air mode. Don't worry, if you look up the radar right now and it pulls this up, don't be overwhelmed. This is what we call clear air returns, and that means it's a drier forecast as we head into those overnight plans. But extending things out, you can see some of those storm reports. So it was a more significant storm system over there towards Alabama. We can see that we have that storm report not too far from the Maynor family, but luckily that was not them, and even up north there towards Huntsville and on the Tennessee state line. So several active patterns. I know folks over there were busy, but fortunately for us, it was more of a sky spectacle rather than anything to worry about on the ground. Fortunately, no damage took place. But looking at those rainfall totals, you can see where the rain happened. We actually had this mesocyclone that formed right over the Alabama state line, and as that circulated through, had those counterclockwise bands, and that circulated in some of that rainfall there towards North Alabama. That's why there's so many of those totals building up there towards Gadsden and Birmingham and Huntsville. But down south, a different story, or should I say the same story, with a lot of those heavy rainfall portions. Still some areas where it's dry. It's just that patchy coverage that we're talking about with summer thunderstorms. But here in Mississippi, you can't get more patchy than that because it was a dry forecast. So definitely grateful for the rainfall we got, but honestly, for me personally, I'm glad we're taking a break heading into the weekend because I do want to get out and about. And if it's heading to Ballard Park or heading to Veterans Park, there's several places you can go to take advantage of this great forecast. Overall, not high on those rain chances. Some mugginess that will result in the fog coverage for our morning commute. But towards the afternoon, mostly dry throughout the entire area, just hot and very muggy. So that remains the story heading into our next 24 hours. So Futurecast Saturday morning, starting off on the drier side. Like I said, some of that northern wind starting to circulate in just a bit, and that'll bring in some of that drier air as a result. So Saturday morning, patchy cloud cover, and we take a look at those low temperatures. We're talking low to mid 70s, similar to what we've been seeing, but the drier air will really be felt towards the afternoon. As we mentioned, that patchy fog coverage still lingering in that forecast. There's your front right there behind me. I know I'm blocking it, but trust me, it is there. Watch how the winds shift on this. So we're still seeing that blow out of the west. And as we head towards the early afternoon, they start to transition more to a northerly component. And honestly, if not a northerly component, we're honestly seeing very little wind at all. So it's going to be either a light wind out of the north or not blowing at all. So very little relief in the form of some wind coverage. That's why these isolated rain chances are our only relief for our afternoon forecast. We jump more into that 1:30, 2 o'clock hour, and even by 3. And it'll be around 3 when we see our first shower starting to move in. And those are not very high in coverage. We're seeing just some moderate rainfall at most with a lot of these. So still remaining on the drier side for our forecast. I upped it to 20%. And I'm saying that with a grain of salt because models did convince me with the last few runs, just because it's been a consistent forecast. But with that northern wind component and that lacking of a frontal boundary, that lacking of that Gulf moisture, it's just hard to believe that we see those showers really pop up and become more numerous. We could see a few, don't get me wrong, but we're not going to see the coverage like what we've seen. And that's what I expect to happen for our Saturday. That's why I say it's a good day to get out and about. Just make sure to stay hydrated, because here's a look at your high temperatures. 95 Houston, Starkville, Columbus, even up and around Tupelo, but 97 towards Tunica, Clarksdale, 98 Greenwood, and 98 around Greensville. Wow, okay. It's Friday night. Well, looking at the heat indices, 105 plus in the Delta. Heat advisory still in place. We'll walk through that here in just a moment, but trust me, they are there, and trust me, they are extending further east because of those heat indices being so much higher. It's just a result of the warming trend, but fortunately, we're not seeing those heat indices rise as much as those temperatures are, a result of that drier air moving in as a result. So 9, 10 o'clock, staying on the drier side on our Saturday night, moving into our Sunday morning, still overall the dry pattern. I'm just glad I'm saying dry so much because it is perfect for any weekend plans that we do have. I know we need rainfall, but if we can have rainfall Monday through Friday and then the weekends be dry, that's picture perfect in my eyes. So I think a few of you out there would agree with that. 6 a.m. on your Sunday, drier. So that's going to be perfect for our commute to church. Go ahead and wake up early and grab a cup of coffee before you head in. Keep you awake in church and also give you a beautiful sunrise in the process. But Sunday by lunchtime, patchy cloud cover moves back into the forecast, and we are watching some increased rain coverage on this model compared to the other model, and I again don't really believe it because it is going to be that drier pattern. You still see those winds circulating in out of the north. I'm not overly sold on those rain chances either. Still isolated in coverage, but not overly sold. So looking at high temperatures though, I'm sold on this, and not sold in the good way. Not sold as in I'm enjoying it and buying it. I do not want to buy this forecast because temperatures at 98 in Bruce, 98 Water Valley, 97 Senatobia, 98 as far north as South Haven, and down south. And we're talking about 99 in Greenville and Clarksdale. So I think our meteorologist, Caleb Edelblut, will be tracking a few triple digits for our Sunday afternoon, unfortunately. So that's just a result of the heat building. But here's a look at heat indices, and you might notice there's very little difference from what we're getting on Saturday, despite there being a warming trend. And it's a result of that drier air pushing in. So feeling around the same, but even though temperatures are a bit higher. I fixed the icons for the weekend graphic, I want to say. So this is a forecast to expect is mostly clear skies throughout the day. 95 Saturday, 97 by Sunday, but expect that number to climb on your Sunday all the way up to about 98 and possibly 99 in that extended forecast. So temps, they continue to climb, but it's going to be a much drier forecast. Looking at that forecasted rainfall, you see a lot of hundreds popping up in a few areas that aren't getting anything at all. That's over the next 3 days, so encompassing your entire weekend. We're not overly sold on those rain chances, and where they do pop up, some brief heavy downpours are possible, but even this map showing coverage will be very little. And looking beyond that, we're going to look at the heat advisories. I promise. I put them in there somewhere. I'm going to go find them. But I did up those percentages to about 20%. That's our peak coverage by mid to late afternoon tomorrow. Sunday, mostly dry. Monday, mostly dry. And then rain chances really kick in by next week. I'm going to take a step back to showcase these temperatures. 97 for Sunday and 98 Monday. And then we'll see upper 90s linger for Tuesday. For Wednesday, that last push from summer. I mean, now we're getting it here this week. So I'm going to take a step on screen, let you guys look at that in more detail and just realize that it's going to be hot and very hot over the next few days. And there it is. Okay, I see hang on. What did he say? Just 38 days till fall? Patty, it transitions from summer, fall, winter. That's how quick it goes because it is so hot. We have about 2 days where it's good fall weather, and then beyond that, it's going to be cold. So, but I know folks are asking for cold weather. So at this point, we want winter, should I say. Current alerts. Here's your heat advisories that are in place for our Saturday, encompassing everywhere: Chickasaw, Monroe, Calhoun, everywhere south, and then Tate, DeSoto, Panola, Yalobusha, all the way out west, and then everywhere in the Delta basically included within that. So it's going to be hot, it's going to be muggy, it's going to be that dangerous heat once again. So I know I say it sparingly of, stay hydrated and do what you need to do, but I'm really pushing it because it's keeping you guys safe. Stay hydrated and stay cool. Take frequent breaks. If you need to get out in the yard tomorrow, do it early in the day, because the afternoon it's going to be sweltering. So make sure to stay as safe as you can, and of course stay as informed as you can. You see on your screen right here. I love doing this. Bam. Looking at iOS and Android, you can download the apps today, get it on your mobile device, and of course get the latest and greatest app in your weather technology. Informs you on everything you need to know, from the hourly forecast to the 7-day to a 24/7 live stream, always accessible in the palm of your hands. And of course, if you have any questions, I want to say there are folks that have questions about the app. Please send us an email, info@msliveweather.com. We try to respond to every single one of them, every single one that we see come in our inbox. We respond to and let them know, or at least try and figure out the issue, so that way we can better address it for you guys in the future and let you know what you're trying to access. This app is for you, and we want you guys to be as informed as you can be. So send us those emails. Trust me, we love getting them, because that means that you guys are watching, paying attention, and trying to stay as safe as possible. So our next broadcast coming up, I know this graphic does not include it, but it's actually going to be 6 and 10 on your Saturday evening, with meteorologist Caleb Edelblut walking you through the latest on that forecast. Again, we don't have a 5 o'clock broadcast, but 6 and 10. He'll be excited to see you there. I'm just looking through the comments here real quick to see if you guys had anything. Everyone have a blessed weekend and be safe for sure. Stay hydrated. Make sure to take frequent breaks. And thank you guys so much again for watching. We appreciate all of your support, and we hope that you guys have a fantastic weekend. And Caleb, we'll see you guys here very shortly.
Even the mighty might not see it coming. It's prediabetes, and it captures 1 in 3 adults. But you can escape. Take the 1-minute prediabetes risk test to know where you stand and prevent or delay type 2 diabetes. Be your own hero on smartphones everywhere at doihaveprediabetes.org.